So, 4 days, 4 practices in, and the thing that you talk about in fall camp is every day is a new day. No matter how good or how bad the day before is, you have work in front of you every day that you got to come out, you got to focus on. And, the deal with the whole thing is you put the blinders on, you just have to do the work. And it's been a lot of fun so far. We're 2 days in pad, so I'm not ready to anoint anyone or this team anything, but I do know the first 4 days, the effort, the intent, and the intensity behind the work has been outstanding. There's certainly mistakes made out there, and that's what you're supposed to have. But the execution really has been good. It's obvious to me that our new guys who have come in here have really taken advantage of the summer. They've done a great job of getting themselves caught up and getting a base knowledge where they could go out there and they could function and compete. So, today is going to be day 5. It'll be the 5th one in a row before an off day. And sometimes those are the toughest ones to kind of get it out of them and get them going. But this team has got, the leadership has grown up tremendously throughout the course of this past year. And they're a fun group to go out there with every day. I know that. And I know that they're working incredibly hard right now with the right type of intensity. So pleased with where we are right now. Every day is a work in progress, and we're going to keep doing the work.
Last week you talked about the depth not being quite as much on the offensive line because of some guys, unfortunately. Is it how much do you still think it's ahead of where you were last year, and what have you seen so far?
Well, it's way ahead from last year. We've got 4 no doubt pieces in place. From right guard all the way over to left tackle, and that they have looked really good. They're on the same page, communicating really well. Right tackle is the one that's kind of up for grabs a little bit, and with Quentin out, he's one that we thought was a front runner for that spot. But it means that George Jackson, James Ohamba, and Trent Murphy have all gotten reps at right tackle. So we're gonna keep letting those guys battle it out and try to raise their game. And each one of them does good things at times, and there's things that they've got different strengths and weaknesses. So we're gonna let them keep battling it out. I think the competition is the best thing that you can do when you have a position like that, instead of just trying to put something in place and just go with it. So we got a lot of guys rotating in and out of the 1 and the 2 deep, just to try to see how they respond to facing better players on the other side. But feel really good about where this group is right now. You got really good leaders in that group, and the intent behind the practice is different than it has been, and the fact that they've been able to practice together continuously, since you get this thing started in February, has certainly made a difference.
With Ohamba, is it his experience, or it seemed like he's more of a guard than is he more capable or more of an option as a guard? I mean, as a tackle.
I think that at times he's a little bit more natural at tackle, just the way that he plays, the nature of his game. But his experience is certainly a reason that you want to put him in the mix right there to go see. Like I said, the other guy, and George played quite a bit last year. He's been out the last couple of days. He should be back here anytime. But Trent has never really played. George has played a little bit, but he's still young. James is an older guy that's played quite a bit. So I think there's value in that. He's really intelligent. He can play inside, outside, left side, right side. So certainly that's something that that there's value in that. And then really for us, you see in some of these other, Caden Morrow is performing much better than he did last year, which you'd expect in year 2. Mackie Malo is really starting to turn the corner for us a little bit, which everyone improves and develops at their own time. Sometimes it's not as fast as you'd like it to be, but he's turning the corner now, and he's working at a different level than he has. And then Bryant Williams, he's really gifted. He's missed a lot of time. Last year that was the worst part. Even though he may not have played last year, was him getting hurt and missing that much time. So he's playing catch up a little bit mentally with it. But you're trying to develop the depth in there, like who's 8, 9, and 10, in that group. So no, I'm really pleased with our offensive line so far. I'm not going to sit here and, like I said, I'm not going to predict anything. We got work to do like everybody, but we're in a better spot, much better spot than last year. It was phenomenal. So I think I think the way that he tells his story, it's so raw, and he talks about it shamelessly about the flaws and the ebbs and flows of life, and and he always ties it back into football, but certainly, there's a lot more to it than just football or baseball or whatever. And the things he talked about was he talked about the work every day, and every day is the only thing guaranteed to you. He talked about never let go. Whenever you're one of those teams that's just gritty and tough, you never let go. You outwork them, you outlast them, and he just hit on a lot of things that we truly believe in. And the way he delivers the message, I think, is outstanding. And he came in there and really just, like I said, re-emphasized some things we talked about. But I think when someone comes to you, and talks about their story and how they've messed it up and how they've screwed it up, that resonates with a lot of people, because that's something no one really likes to talk about a whole lot. Um, but his willingness to share that, I think, goes a long way because like you said, everybody in that room second on a second chance in some way, shape, or form. And for our guys, we've had some guys that have been in to the bottom of the lows, and had to dig themselves back out. So they relate to that and they see that. And I appreciate not just the message that he gave, but really his willingness to share, things about his life that maybe aren't things that most of us would like to talk about.
Between your standard and the all the assistant coaches coming back for you all, how much more far ahead are y'all this year than y'all were last year this time?
I mean, continuity is huge, and that's something that time and time again, I've kind of underestimated the importance of it. And I told our team that this entire coaching staff chose to come back, and they believe in the way we're doing it. It's much easier the second time around because the expectations, everyone understands it, everyone knows. You don't have to spend as much time, maybe necessarily. Now it's important, the small things really really matter, but you don't have to go back into detail about things that are not maybe football because everyone knows the expectations and the standards, and um, it's easier for them to hold players accountable. It's easier for players to know what to expect for them. So there's no feeling it out right now. It's we all know we're all full go right now, and I think being connected, coach to coach, player to coach, player to player, is something that you can't really put a price tag on that. And we've got a lot of players that have played and got experience. And we've got a full coaching staff that has been together for a full year now, year plus. And the second time around, typically, as it should be, is a little bit smoother.
I think Neil Johnson is one of your main targets in the offense. Who in the wide receiving core do you think we should have an eye on?
Well, I mean, I think naturally, Peter and Jake are the two that have played the most snaps. I mean, Peter has made really big plays for us throughout his career, and last year Jake played really well. Some of the guys that are emerging right now a little bit. Rob Williams, I would say, has probably been. I don't want to say it's a surprise because he's a guy we always really expected to go out there and go play at a high level, but he's flipped the switch, and he's another one that his developmental timeline was just a little bit different than some of the other guys, and but he's got it figured out. He's had a really good camp so far. Tavion Smith has jumped in the mix in there. Charles Robertson, Jaden, AJ, all those guys that we've talked about, they've done some really good things throughout the course of camp. It's the consistency in performance. We've talked about that quite a bit. You are what you do consistently, not occasionally. So it's the consistency in it. But no, that receiver group, man, it's fun because when you come into a season like that and you have that many really, I mean, I don't know, I mean, that many balls, that many opportunities that are up for grabs, it's fun to see who's going to go compete and try to get themselves in position to go out there and impact the game. And right now, you have a lot of guys that are competing for it, but it's been a lot of fun. It doesn't matter what group they're going with, ones, twos, threes, whatever. They're out there and they're competing really hard. They're making plays. On any given day, it's Travion Colbert one day, making the big play of the day. It's Harvey Broussard the next day making the big play. So there's a lot of options out there. We got to circle around who does it the most consistently, whose body of work is the most sound throughout the whole course of camp to figure out kind of where it fits out. But we knew that group was young. We knew that group was talented. So now we just get to, step back, watch them work, and let it sort itself out.
So you mentioned that like some of that performance was not necessarily a surprise for you. What have you seen so far that has surprised you in a pleasant way of like you didn't see coming, but you're glad to see it?
I think it's some of these guys that are new that either maybe got here this spring that maybe didn't, like Kadarius. I always get this messed up because we got a Kadarius Wade and a Kadarius Miller. Kadarius Miller, the D lineman who transferred in the spring, he was just trying to figure it out all spring, and in the last 4 days, he's really started to flash a little bit. And it's like, okay, that's what we thought he was. Lawrence Dubose is a guy who had a couple really good days at camp. Keon Martin is a guy that had a great summer, but really, missed most of spring. Last fall is a guy that we felt like had a lot of ability, just kind of had to put it all together. And, he's playing like a different person. So there's a lot of those guys out there. This young D line group is going to be really good. You know, to see Mason Clinton and Chase Edwards and Lance Williams and Xavion Coleman go out there, and we're rolling them in there with the ones and the twos, and to see them go out there and compete every day, that's been a pleasant surprise, because I think you always maybe hope some of those guys can contribute, but you don't ever really count on it, and they've really exceeded my expectations of what they would do so far.
Coach, looking at your offense so far in camp, how important has it been for you guys that you have three quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody would want to be in that position, and so for us, I mean, those three guys have performed really well this camp. I mean, they all have different strengths and different weaknesses. I mean, just like everybody, but they have performed really, really well. I mean, they are making really good decisions. They're accurate with the ball, standing in the pocket. They're directing traffic. I mean, they understand the ins and outs of this offense, and that's a luxury that anybody would die to have. And we're certainly, I mean, incredibly grateful. But on top of it, I mean, you go in that room, and the four guys we have here in camp, I mean, they're smiling their faces every day. Doesn't matter what group they're going with, what reps they're getting. They're they're great teammates, man, and that's it's rare in today's world, to to have Chandler Fields who said, I'm staying here. This is where I want to be. I mean, that doesn't happen everywhere, and I'm grateful for kids like him, because he's an integral part of what we do, and our guys have faith in him. So do we. I mean, and he's going out there and proving it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we're anywhere close to being able to say that. I mean, we haven't done any live full speed reps yet on return. We've worked in groups and parts of it. So I mean, we're not even, probably hadn't scratched the surface. We got a few guys rolling through there, and we'll get some opportunities as we start getting close to this first scrimmage, and certainly second scrimmage and all that.
Time for a couple more. With Jamarian in his situation, what have you seen from Tyler? And I'm sure his experience is valuable in that situation. Him on the other side, him having to take that next step forward.
It's fun. It's fun to see people step up, when they need to. And Tyler is like the prime example of work while you wait. A 6-year senior that's played significant roles in our minds, but to the outside world might look like it's insignificant. Played on teams, played in certain situations. He's ready for the opportunity. I mean, there's no doubt. I never had a question in my mind, and he stepped up and he performs like it. I mean, you can tell that he knows this is his opportunity and he's prepared for it. We say it all the time: when the opportunity arises, it's too late to prepare. And he's a perfect example. He sat behind some, I mean, really, really good players here, and he's ready for the opportunity. Cam George has been, I think this is the first session that we've seen him really start to play like we thought he could. Another one, right, that the development is on their timeline. He's still got, some limitations in certain things, but that's our job to make sure we have him doing what he can do, because there are things he does, striking people and playing the C gap and doing those things. I mean, he's as good as anybody. So to see him step up in there has been great. You know, Cam Whitfield has continued to accelerate, which we expected. And then, you know, Trey Fight is really athletic on the edge. You know, he's physically he's got to continue to develop in those things, but he is incredibly athletic, and he's really intelligent. He's picked it up fast, so you know we feel good about that group. You know, you say it all the time, you know, and it's next man up, and as cliche as it sounds, but that's what it has to happen, you know, and that's the way it's got to be. And those guys they've done a good job and prepared themselves for the opportunity. I do. Yep. Through 4 practices, really pleased with him. He's done a great job, and you can tell that you know he's put in the work and he's mentally prepared himself as much as physically.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you guys.